Gallows Bend's 3 a.m. mystery. The clock on the dashboard glowed 2:45 a.m. watt as Officer Nadia Patel steered her patrol car down the desolate stretch of Gallows Bend Road. It was Sunday, June 8th, 2025, and the air outside was cool and still, the kind of quiet that pressed against the windows of her cruiser. Nadia, a sharp-eyed officer with 8 years on the Blackthorn PD, had drawn the graveyard shift again. A punishment, she suspected, for calling out the captain's outdated procedures last week. But she didn't mind the solitude. It gave her time to think. Tonight, though, something felt off. The radio static hummed with an edge of unease, and the fog rolling in from the nearby marshland seemed thicker than usual. Gallows Bend was a lonely place, a narrow road flanked by gnarled trees and the skeletal remains of an old hanging tree, its branches twisted like accusing fingers. Legend had it that the spot was cursed, the site of a botched execution in the 1800s, where 3 men, accused horse thieves, were left to dangle too long, their spirits never finding peace. Nadia dismissed such tales as small-town folklore, but as she approached the bend, a shiver crawled up her spine. At exactly 3 a.m., her headlights caught a flicker of movement. She slowed, peering into the mist. A figure stood beneath the hanging tree, its silhouette indistinct but human. Nadia's pulse quickened. She grabbed her flashlight and stepped out, the crunch of gravel under her boots breaking the silence. "Blackthorn PD! Identify yourself!" she called, her voice firm. The figure didn't move, its head tilting, as if listening. Nadia advanced, her flashlight beam slicing through the fog, revealing a man, or what looked like one. He wore tattered clothes from another era, his face pale and gaunt, eyes hollow. Around his neck hung a noose, the rope frayed but intact. Swaying slightly though there was no breeze, her breath caught. This wasn't a drunk or a prankster. "Sir, step away from the tree," she ordered, hand resting on her holster. The figure turned, its movements jerky, and let out a low, guttural moan that echoed unnaturally. The fog thickened, swirling around her, and the temperature dropped. Nadia's radio crackled, but the voice was garbled, lost in static. She tried to retreat to her car, but the figure lunged, its speed impossible. She dodged, drawing her gun, and fired. The bullet passed through, hitting the tree trunk with a dull thud. The figure vanished, reappearing behind her. She spun, her heart pounding, and swung the flashlight like a club. It connected, but her hand passed through the apparition, sending a jolt of cold up her arm. The moan turned into a chorus, 3 voices overlapping, rising in pitch. Shadows emerged from the mist, 2 more figures, each with nooses, their forms flickering like candle flames. Nadia backed against the car, her mind racing. This wasn't human. "Back up! I need backup at Gallows Bend!" she shouted into the radio, but the signal was dead. The figures closed in, their moans a cacophony that vibrated in her chest. She fired again, the shots useless, and the nooses swung toward her, tightening around her wrists. Panic surged, but training took over. She dropped to the ground, rolling under the car, the ropes grazing her jacket. The figures paused, their heads tilting in unison. Then began a slow chant, words she couldn't understand but felt in her bones. The ground trembled and the tree creaked, its branches lowering as if alive. Nadia crawled to the driver's side, yanked the door open, and slammed it shut, her hands shaking as she fumbled for the keys. The engine roared to life, and she peeled out, the figures vanishing into the mist as she sped away. At the station, Captain Ruiz met her with a skeptical frown. "3 ghosts at Gallows Bend, Patel? You're telling me you shot at thin air?" he said, his voice dripping with disbelief. She explained the figure, the nooses, the chant. But without evidence, her story sounded like a hallucination. The dash cam footage was corrupted, showing only static at 3 a.m. Ruiz suspended her for the night, ordering a psych eval, but Nadia knew what she'd seen. She couldn't shake it. That night she researched Gallows Bend, digging through old records. 1875 newspaper clipping detailed the execution. 3 men, Jacob Hale, Thomas Reed, and Samuel Crow, hanged for theft, their deaths marred by a storm that left their bodies dangling for days. Witnesses reported hearing moans and seeing shadows afterward. A later entry noted a deputy's disappearance in 1947 after investigating similar sightings. Driven by instinct, Nadia returned to Gallows Bend at 2:50 a.m. the next night, off-duty and armed with salt and an iron crowbar, remedies from a folklore book she'd found. The fog was back, the tree looming like a sentinel. At 3 a.m. the figures appeared, their moans rising. She scattered salt in a circle around herself, gripping the crowbar. The figures recoiled, their forms flickering, but one, Jacob, she guessed from the taller stature, stepped forward, its noose extending. "You trespass on our ground," it rasped, its voice a mix of rage and sorrow. "We seek justice." "What justice?" Nadia demanded, holding her ground. The figure's eyes glowed faintly. "Our execution was false. The true thief escaped. Free us or join us." Nadia's mind raced. If this was real, the spirits needed resolution. "Tell me who," she said, lowering the crowbar slightly. The figures hesitated, then Jacob pointed to the base of the tree. She dug with the crowbar, unearthing a rusted strongbox. Inside was a journal, its pages brittle, detailing a confession. Elias Crow, Samuel's brother, had framed the trio to cover his own crime. The spirit's moans softened. "Burn it," Thomas whispered. Nadia lit a match, the journal flaring up. The tree shuddered, its branches retracting, and the figures dissolved, their voices fading into a grateful sigh. The fog lifted, the night growing still. Back at the station, she reported the find, but the strong box was empty when logged, the story dismissed as exhaustion. Ruiz warned her against further stunts, but Nadia felt a weight lift. Gallows Bend was quiet now, the 3 a.m. mystery solved, or so she hoped. Yet late at night she sometimes heard a faint moan on the wind, a reminder that some debts linger.